Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to do a video talking about the 12.0 update to Marvel Contest of Champions and give my thoughts on it. Now, if you've been following me on the channel for a while, you'll know that for about 10-11 years, I have been playing MMORPGs. I've been playing a lot of online games, so I'm very used to big patches and big changes coming. And before today, I had quite a bit of optimism. I had a bit of trust in Kabam, looking at those patch notes and kind of seeing their goal to kind of bring champions more in line and have a bit more of a skill-based endgame and skill-based game that rewards people who can play the game well instead of just having like these certain set of characters and then just completely face rolling the content. However, throughout all my time playing online games and MMORPGs, after today, I can very confidently say that this is the worst update by far I've ever seen to any game for so many reasons. Like, one, it's fundamentally terrible for the game at the moment, and two, it feels like they've really just taken the test server and dumped it on live without a lot of thought to stuff. There is so much stuff that's incredibly broken. It feels like endgame content has not been tuned at all to accommodate for the various changes. It's still exactly the same difficulty. Some stuff has actually been increased significantly in terms of its difficulty. Just citing Realm of Legends Winter Soldier, who now has an insane special 2 attack, and also that, you know, you can't easily evade now. You have to like block it or just continually bait the level 1s, which ruins a lot of kind of tempo-based strategies with various champions. And then you also have Old Man Logan in the Labyrinth of Legends, who now regenerates for 3,000 health every second and is unkillable as far as I'm aware. So there's some real great stuff in that. Now, alongside that, one of my biggest gripes with the update so far is the conversion of stats from percentage-based to flat rate. Now, the biggest problem with this at the moment is it looks like nobody tested block proficiency. We are having so many problems with it at the moment. So, to give you an example, before the patch, certain characters like Captain America, they could block most of the attacks perfectly with their signature ability, and about 60 to 65% of champions in the game that had around 40% block proficiency rating. Whenever you parried, you'd take 0 damage, and for the rest of the characters, you take close to 0 damage. However, now in patch 12.0, no character has a perfect 0 damage parry. Every character takes a ton of damage. So that is absolutely awful for so many reasons. It's made stuff like, if this continues, it will make stuff like Realm of Legends, Labyrinth of Legends completely impossible without spending a ton of units or having like one of 3 very specific champions with very strong regen. And that's one of the also really weird things as well, is some champions have really kept their prowess and regen, like Rogue, X-23, Wolverine, but a lot of champions have been absolutely fucked when it comes to their regen. For example, Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, Ghost Rider are all like healing for like absolutely nothing now in comparison. So this update, it just seems like the biggest mess that I've ever seen in my life. And I'm really, really disappointed. I cannot express like how disappointed I am, because when the initial announcement came out, there were really 2 sides. There was like the really angry side, where people have been sold these god tier champions and packages around them over the last few months, because whether, you know, you like it or not, those packages were very indirectly aimed at beefing up what players considered as the top tier champions in the game. So a lot of people brought into those packages to have them significantly nerfed for this patch, to a point where a lot of the champions are not even like playable. You're just going to take them back to like rank 3. So that was a huge problem for me, and that's something that kind of left me on the fence. But I decided to remain optimistic about the update, because I figured if Kabam really had been planning this for a long time, and if they wanted to go through the grief of all that backlash, that they really had a solid plan for this patch, that they were really going to make it work. They were really going to put in their effort to make it like just the smoothest release ever. And when you actually played the patch, you'd maybe come around. You'd maybe think, oh, this is pretty great. But we didn't get that. We did not get that today. So the next thing as well is there's been a significant damage output nerf to pretty much every champion in the game, apart from a couple of the ones that have been buffed. You can tell with the new stats the damage on average has gone down by a substantial amount. There are also a few other interactions, like armor break no longer increasing bleed damage, which have significantly nerfed a few champions as well. So that, you know, the significant damage output nerf, especially when it comes to stuff like Labyrinth of Legends, when you look at Storm and Starlord, Storm has been hit really, really hard today with a nerf, and this wasn't even mentioned. So her conduit ability, instead of dealing like an additional like percentage damage based on how full her opponent's power is, so it used to deal up to, I believe it was around 120% additional damage, so almost like a double and a bit damage if your opponent's power bar was full, and now it just deals like just over 1,000 and a bit, so 1,577 on my 5-star Dupe Storm, which is really a pittance there. There are a lot of nerfs, a lot of terrible stuff that we're finding out about as we drudge on. Like, I tried to be optimistic. I tried to give this patch like a really, really good run. But the problem is they've just changed so much. They've changed so much when it comes to the core gameplay, and they haven't spent any time retuning or rebalancing the content around that. It just seems so lazy from my perspective. I feel like no effort has been put into this update. I feel like they've just converted it into flat values, and then just be like, "Oh, that's that. There you go. Like, we're done now." That's what it feels like. It feels like there was no extensive testing done. Like, despite Kabam Mike saying on the forums that, oh yeah, after the update, we've been through all the endgame content. It's completely fine. It's completely doable. I don't know. I think that's a lie. I think that's a straight up lie. I think Labyrinth of Legends now, especially now that you don't have perfect parries and you're going to take a crap ton of damage, even with a Starlord or Storm, with just also having like significantly less damage output, you're just going to get fucked. You're going to get fucked so hard right in the wallet. And it really disappoints me, because this game, Before the patch and stuff, it's insanely profitable. Marvel Contest of Champions, there were business reports released last year saying that it earns like 30 million a year, and that was in June. Sorry, 30 million a month. Every month, 30 million US dollars. It's a lot of cheese, boys, a lot of cheese. And I believe throughout kind of the December and November months, that only went up. They had a really, really good thing going. I just don't understand the need to release such a sloppy update and just fuck the player base like that. Because a lot of people, again in that second camp, who are wait until the update and stuff, we had our hope out for you today, Kabam, to pull one out and be like, you release a solid update, release a better version of the game, show us a more skill-based version of Marvel Contest of Champions, where every character is viable and has its own little tweak of utility. But instead, we got a piece of crap, unfinished update with very confusing stats that don't really make sense and aren't particularly intuitive. So, for example, just to further elaborate on those stats as well, like, you've got all these ratings, right? And ratings are great. They're really great. I'm very used to ratings and dealing with them in MMORPGs. However, the great thing about MMORPGs is when you, like, hover, like, or at least all the ones I've played, like, if I hover over 826 critical rating, I can see how much that affects a certain champion and get, like, a good idea of, like, what I should invest my stuff in and what setups I should use to increase my crit rating, crit damage. We've got all of these new stats, but no idea how any of them are, how effective any of them are. Like, it's just completely shooting in the dark. Like, what does it do? Are we getting, like, less critical rating? Like, where does the diminishing turns kick in? Diminishing returns kick in? It's just such a mess. It's just such a mess. And also, like, for example, when you look at a champion like, we're going to use Scarlet Witch for this one. When you look at a champion like Scarlet Witch at the moment, they've also updated the ability descriptions. So, Special Attack 1, this attack receives 1,133.33 additional critical hit rating. It's a bit clunky. That's just so clunky, and we have no idea, like, exactly what that is or how effective that is. It just seems like this update The point I'm really trying to make here is that with this update, the community and myself in particular placed a lot of faith in Kabam and the development team that this update was going to improve Marvel Contest of Champions and be really good for the game, and that it would have been extensively tested and that stuff would be better. However, what we have now is just a really fucking broken game. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. We're going to wait and see for a couple of days, because I check the forums, I check Reddit, I check Facebook, everywhere is freaking the fuck out about this update. And I can completely sympathize with that. There is so much fundamentally wrong with this update. So I'm really interested to see how this develops. Tomorrow, we're going to go over some of the developer posts and give a bit of an update on the new patch and see kind of where we're going and what's intended and what's not. But overall, I get that there's going to be a few bugs, but a lot of this just seems like you didn't even fucking test it. Like, that's the opinion that I get from playing this update for a few hours. I just see, like, just converting stuff and pushing it out there without testing any of it or seeing how it practically works. And as a customer and consumer and fan, that makes me lose a lot of faith in you and your development team. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be continuing this saga tomorrow. Thank you for watching the video if you got this far. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.